This is actually a whole lot more than just a time management class. This is almost more like a life management type class. And there's been some significant things I have learned over the past few weeks of studying the most productive person, I think, in the history of mankind that used his time like nobody else did over his 3 year career that he had. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but I just want to give you a little bit of story on my end. I have lived both extremes when it comes to time management. What do I mean? I have had no structure whatsoever, nothing on a calendar, no plan, no purpose. And I have been on the complete opposite end of the spectrum where I had a time block calendar with every 6 minutes accounted for. I am not exaggerating, and my wife can attest to it because she thought I might need some help when she saw my calendar time blocked in 6 minutes. So I've been on both ends of it. I've also read numerous books. I have listened to podcasters on time management. One of my favorite podcasters, Ed Milet, wrote in his book, he's got a whole chapter in his book on how to live and how he lives 3 days inside of every day. I tried that for a little bit and toyed with that. I have been coached on time management by numerous coaches, and I remember one of my coaches that I respect quite a bit. I remember she told me one time, if there's white space on your calendar, and what white space is kind of means, if you have white space on your calendar, it means you have an hour, 30 minutes, or whatever. If you don't have a name for that space or that block of time, she said, if you have white space on your calendar, it is evil. I've heard it all. And yet, despite all of this, after trying numerous things with managing time, I still felt really, really super frustrated. Like I was always behind, I was always reactive. And if you're in sales, you can't tell me that sometimes you don't feel like you're always in reactive mode and always busy, but never truly productive. And then, like most things in my life, I finally saw that the answer, honestly, has been in front of me the whole time. As I mentioned, I started studying the man who I feel like got more done in a 3 year career than any other human that's ever walked the planet. He had a philosophy when it came to time. And I make no apology for saying his name, and we're going to talk about him a lot over this week and the next 2 weeks, but his name is Jesus. But Jesus lived a life on purpose with a mission. He knew when to say no. Also, he knew when to say yes. And he knew when to allow an interruption to alter his journey or his day. He knew how to withdraw from busyness so he could recharge. If you're a realtor on here and just heard what I said, I don't want you to miss it. He knew how to withdraw from busyness in his life so he could recharge. If you have felt like time management is difficult, like your life is out of balance, like you know you need to do something different, but you're not sure what it is, I want to tell you the series we're starting today is for you. And we're going to start with the word that once I understood this word, it started helping me understand how Jesus lived his life. Okay, so let's go to this word. The word is Kairos, Kairos. And it comes from the Greek language. And in the ancient Greek, there's actually two different words for time. The first is chronos, which means sequential, measurable clock time. It's the ticking of the clock, the relentless march of minutes and hours and days that most salespeople are completely dominated by, including me. Okay, all of us. It's really what we're used to. But let me tell you, when the word chronos, when you're dealing with chronos and time, it is something that doesn't care too much about your goals. It does not care about your family. It does not care about what your purpose is or what kind of salesperson you're trying to become. Chronos just keeps moving. The second word is kairos. Kairos means this. It means the appointed time. the right moment, the significant season. It's the time that requires something specific from you. And when the New Testament says redeeming the time in Ephesians 5, which was on the last screen, when it says redeeming the time, the word used for time in the Greek language is kairos, not chronos. Paul, the author of Ephesians, what he was saying was, he was not saying manage your calendar better. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying is understand what that season in your life requires. Show up with intention. Jesus operated in Kairos completely. I want you to think about this and think how it relates to your life. But this is the life of Jesus. He was never in a hurry, but he was always on time. He accomplished more in the 3 years of public ministry than anyone before his life or since. That is not an accident. It's a philosophy of how he looked at time, and it's available to you and to me to use. Now, I think what some of you are probably most likely thinking right now, you're thinking, that sounds wonderful. It sounds great. But I'm a solo real estate agent, or I'm a solo loan officer. I'm a solo salesperson. I don't have a team. I don't know how to live the way that you may be explaining. When my phone rings, I feel like I have to answer it, or that client is going to call somebody else. I hear you. I promise I'm going to address that elephant in the room in just a few minutes, because that tension that you're feeling to being on everyone else's clock, it's exactly what the series is designed to break. So I want to repeat something I said a few minutes ago before we move on, because it's super important. Jesus was never in a hurry. Let's move to the next part here. I want to show you something in the life of Jesus that I think it's the most counterintuitive leadership principle in the entire New Testament. Luke 5:15 and 16 says, "Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sickness. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." The more demand that was on his time, the more he pulled away. Not less, the more he pulled away. The crowds were growing, the need, his popularity was increasing. People were literally lining up to see him. And Jesus went quiet. He withdrew. He created space. Now, I want you to think about that in the context of your business. When your phone starts blowing up, what do we salespeople do when the phone starts blowing up? We grab our phone because we don't want to lose that sale. We grab it, we take it. When your pipeline gets full and three deals are moving at one time, what happens to your prospecting? Usually stops. When the market gets busy and your calendar fills up, what gets cut first? It's usually your planning time, your margin, or your rest, or maybe all of them. We do the exact opposite of what Jesus did when the crowds were gathering in. He protected quiet in the middle of chaos. We sacrifice quiet the moment chaos arrives. Does anyone else feel that, or is it just me? But like I'm telling you, when chaos arrives, I usually don't go quiet. I usually try to handle it and put fires out immediately as soon as I can. But here's what this lesson is and how it's practical. The quality of your output is directly connected to the quality of your input. And if you never stop to think, really seriously think about where you are going and what the season requires of you, you will be very busy going nowhere in particular. The withdrawal was not Jesus checking out, not at all. It was Jesus recharging, recalibrating, and reconnecting to his purpose. And when he showed back up, he could show up fully. I just want to ask you, when was the last time you did that? Not necessarily a vacation, not scrolling through your phone at night, speaking to me, not necessarily watching The Office episodes at night on repeat, But when is the last time you actually stopped and asked what the season of your business requires of you? I think it's worth taking some time to do that. But here's the thing I want to tell you. This is the elephant in the room I said I want to come back to because I know what a lot of you are sitting with right now. You're thinking, this all sounds so beautiful, but I'm a solo realtor. I'm a solo loan officer. I do not have a team. I don't have an assistant screening my phone calls. And if I miss a call, that client is going to call the next agent on the list if you're a realtor. Isn't that what a lot of us think when the phone is ringing? We got to answer it. I mean, I've been at lunch appointments with realtors before, the phone rings and they blow me off to answer the phone. It makes me feel like I'm second class citizen sitting there across the table. It's so rude. But I know that's how a lot of us think. It's not professionalism when we do this. It's usually comes from a lack of fear, or I'm sorry, not a lack of fear. It comes from having fear. We're afraid of what we're missing out on. But let me tell you, fear, I believe, as it's been applicable in my life, fear is usually dressed up as dedication. Fear is dressed up as good client service. Fear is dressed up as being a hard worker, but it's fear. And it's costing you a whole lot more than the thing you're afraid of losing. So I want to address several things that specifically I'm kind of picking on realtors, but let me tell you, I can flip this around and turn it all on its head because it's applicable in my life and my business too. But the call, let me just pretend to be a realtor for a minute. I think most agents believe they must answer every call immediately or they may lose the client. But here's the truth. A professional response, even if it's delayed 30 or 60 minutes, communicates more confidence than a frantic immediate answer. I want you to think how a third party sees it. It still is communicated as professional if you get back within 30 or 60 minutes. When you pick up that phone at any hour of the day, what you're doing, you're training your clients how to work with you from the very first interaction. And if you're okay with them calling you at 10 o'clock at night and you pick up at 10 o'clock at night, you just trained that client. This is how you operate. So when you answer your call, every call in under 60 seconds at 10, you just told the client, these are my boundaries or lack of boundaries. And you'll spend the rest of the transaction living like that with that client because that's how you train them. It's okay to have a life. The most wonderful thing ever, I think, ever put on the iPhone is the Focus app or the little focus button where I can just make sure it's screening all of my calls. So the only people that can get through to me is my wife or my kids. That's a great function at night and on the weekends. All right. Here's something else I want you to think about. We're going to go a little deeper. The phone calls. How about the inspector? A home inspector calls and says, I can do the inspection at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. However, you know, at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, you've time blocked a prospect. What do most agents do? Most realtors cancel the prospecting block without a second thought because the inspection feels urgent, because the client is counting on them, because they are afraid to push back. But here's the question that nobody really asked. Did you actually try to schedule it at a different time? Or did you just assume you had to say yes? 9 times out of 10, if you simply say, I have a conflict at 10, can we do 1 p.m. instead? Home inspector will probably say yes, or they'll give you a different option. The inspector is not trying to control your schedule. They gave you the first time that came to mind, but when you never push back, when you say yes to every request without even trying to find another option, you're training everyone around you that your time has no value. And once you train them that way, it is very hard to untrain them. How about closings? Now, this is probably going to get a little pushback. I just want you to bear with me on this for a minute. But most agents feel they need and must attend every single closing. I understand the impulse in that. You want to celebrate with your client. You want to be there at the finish line. Let me say, before I get ready to say what I'm about to say, I think it's amazing and great if you can be there at closings with your clients. But ask yourself honestly, is your physical presence at that closing table, is it serving your client or is it serving your fear of seeming like you don't care? I'm having a deliberate pause there because I want people to think about it. Your clients need you most at the beginning and in the middle of the transaction when there are problems to solve and decisions to make. By the time they're sitting at the closing table, the work is done. Other options could be a handwritten note, a phone call the morning of the closing, a personal text when it's over, communicating the same care. And you get 2 hours back to do something that actually grows your business. All right. I'm not saying abandon closings right away. I'm just saying the things that we abandon most often are the things that would keep pushing the needle in our business, like prospecting. And sitting there listening to a title company explain what the fees are, you're most of the time, if I go to a closing, the realtors nor I have a whole lot of conversation in it. We're just there for support and to celebrate. So I'm not saying again, don't go. I'm just saying don't let things get in the way of the most important things that we need to be doing, which are prospecting and working on our business. Operating in Kairos, it's not abandoning your clients. It's not being unavailable. It's not being unprofessional. Operating in Kairos is this. It's making intentional decisions about where your time and your energy go. So you can show up fully for the things that actually require you. The agent who answers every phone call immediately, attends every inspection, goes to every closing, and never protects a single hour is not really serving their clients better. They're slowly becoming less effective, more reactive, more exhausted, and eventually more resentful. I know it because I've lived all this life in my journey before as a loan officer. We go through the same thing. And that's not service. Honestly, it's the fear running a business. It's fear running a business. Jesus was surrounded by people who needed him every minute of every day, yet he still withdrew. Not because he didn't care, because he knew that protecting the source was the only way to keep showing up fully. You are the source. Protect it. And I hope that slide helps you move out of some of the fear, but this drives so many of us in sales. How do you actually do this in a practical way? I want to give you the Kairos question, and it's this. What does the season require of me or you? What does that mean? It means not what is urgent, not what is in your email inbox at the moment, not what your most demanding client needs from you right now. What does the season, the specific chapter of your business actually require of you? Right now, for most of you, the season requires a strong second half of 2026, which means it requires consistent prospecting, deepening relationships with your top referral sources, converting the leads that you already have in your pipeline. But here's the question inside the question. Is what you are actually doing with your time every day connected to what the season requires? Because with most realtors, most loan officers, the honest answer is you're not doing enough. Not because you don't care, but because nobody ever taught them to stop and ask the Kairos question before that opened their calendar and they started reacting. So I want you to start asking the question every single Monday morning before you look at your phone, before you check your email, before you react to anything. Take 5 minutes every Monday and ask one question. What does this week require of me? Then build your week around that answer instead of around what screams at you the loudest. And that's honestly the way most loan officers re work their day. Whatever is screaming the loudest right now. If it's a client, if it's an underwriter, if it's a condition, it's whatever's screaming the loudest is usually what will make me jump through hoops and get things done instead of protecting that Kairos time that I need to be protecting. Okay, and I hope that makes sense. But we need to make sure we're doing things in the season of life that are mattering and making the most of it right now. So, in your business, now, there are probably 3 to 5 activities, maybe fewer, that generate the vast majority of your results. Everything else either enables those activities or competes with them. I call these your Kairos activities, the things only you can do, the things that directly generate relationships, opportunities, and income. For most realtors, this looks like real estate conversations, listing presentations, buyer consultations, deepening referral source relationships, and a lot of database follow up for most realtors. In my life, it means I should be having realtor partner conversations, pre approval appointments, pipeline follow up, referral source touches, and new partner outreach. Everything else, everything else, email, paperwork, social media, social media, social media. I'm saying that over and over and over because most of us need to hear that. Social media, administrative tasks, these are not really all that important. They're not primary. And most salespeople, realtors, and loan officers I know will spend 70 to 80% of their time in these things while their pipeline is running dry. So I'm going to give you 3 steps to start this week that can help you turn some of the stuff into Kairos activities. The 3 things that if you did them consistently every single week, your pipeline would never be empty. Just 3. They should be non-negotiables. These are things that get on the calendar before everything else. So the next step is you're going to block these 3 things out first. Tonight, open your calendar and block time for the 3 activities before anything else goes in, not after, before. If they go in last, they get pushed out every single time. So I want you to go back, and if you've got pen and paper, what are the 3 things right now that you know should be non-negotiables in your business that you should be blocking out every single day or every week that you're getting done? Okay. I know for me, I need to talk to 70 to hit my numbers. I need to talk to 75 people a week by phone. That may not be the same for everybody, but for me, I need to do that. And when I break it down, it's 15 conversations a day. It's not that big of a deal, right? But I know that's a non-negotiable. Doing status updates on my clients, non-negotiable. All right. So what are your 3 non-negotiables? And I want you to ask the Kairos question every Monday before you touch your phone. 5 minutes, the one question, one more time, I'm going to give it to you. What does this week require of me? And build your week around that. And if you do those things for the next 30 days, I promise you, you're going to see 30 days from now, your pipeline is starting to fill up. All right. So here's what I want to leave you with today. The agents who will build a sustainable business are not the ones that answer every call the fastest. They're not the ones who attend every inspection, and they're not the ones that may go to every closing and never say no to anything. The ones that will build a sustainable business, they're the ones who figured out, sometimes after years of burnout, trying to do it the other way, that protecting their time, it's not selfish, it's necessary. Protecting your time is not selfish, it's necessary. You were not created to be on somebody else's clock. You were created to lead. Lead your clients, lead your business, and lead your own life with intention and purpose. Ephesians 5:15 through 16 says, be very careful how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. The days are very short. The older I get, the more I realize how short time really is. Just last week, we're hosting a French exchange student, and just last week we went to play soccer. He's 15. I've got a 15-year-old at home. My 22-year-old was at home. We went to play soccer. This 58-year-old body was trying to do work of a 15-year-old for about 60 minutes, and it went for about 10 minutes, and I thought I was under cardiac arrest. Days are short. Like, I still feel like I'm 15 mentally, but my body is not. Days are short. Time passes so quick. Stop managing your clock and start managing your life. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. See ya.